Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports. Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. We'll be here with you for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports topics. And looking forward to doing so. Wade, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Mo. Good to be with you. Good to be with everybody. We got a big show lined up today, and we've got another scorcher of an afternoon. So I'm glad, for one, to be inside and be with everybody for these next couple.
I think inside is the place to be, certainly for the next couple of hours and maybe beyond, because I think that there are some scattered thunderstorms headed this way. But right now, yeah, it is awfully warm out there. Awfully warm out there.
We were in it. We were in an all-out sprint in the last 90 minutes or so to get the yard completely done in the event, that Mother Nature has plans for us. Supposed to rain a lot this week, so now that we've got it all nice and cut, though, what inevitably will happen is we won't get any rain for the next few days. So,
and burn it up.
Of the earth.
Hang with them. Yeah, big show today. In the next hour, in the second hour, we will be joined by Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Their 2025 Hall of Fame induction ceremonies are not this coming weekend, but the following weekend at the Omni Nashville. So figured it'd be a good time to check in with Brad now that he's got all of his gotchas out of the way and talk about the entire class that they will be inducting next weekend. So looking forward to visiting with Brad at 3 o'clock. At 2:20 in our second segment, we will visit with Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, and see what's going on in Murfreesboro and on the campus of Middle Tennessee State. Always fun catching up with Chip, and especially this time of year because you never know if he's going to be in town or not, and it's understandable. You know, he worked hard during the school year, so he tries to get away some. And actually, I think when we spoke with him last week, he said he would not be available next week. So we're going to get all we can out of him today when we get him in the next segment.
Yeah, take advantage of Chip anytime we can get him, and today will be a fun one.
Absolutely. We'll also talk a little tennis. We'll talk a little baseball. Got some basketball to get into, maybe a little football. And it is, again, Top 5 Tuesday. In the final segment of the show, Wade and I will bring you our top 5 athletes' falls from grace. And I could tell you where that germinated, or I can wait until we get to it. I think I'll do the latter. But falls from grace for highly touted athletes will be the top 5 Tuesday topic that we'll end the show with. So should be fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we will do a big old stroll down memory lane, I feel, during that portion there.
There will be a lot of reaching back, and that'll be interesting to dive into, I think. So we'll take care of that in the final segment. Right now, though, let's go ahead and get things going with yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
To the rundown we go, boys and girls. We have Major League Baseball action last night as the Guardians defeated my beloved Houston Astros. 7-5 was your final in that MLB contest there. WNBA action. The Atlanta Dream take care of Golden State last night. 90-81 was that final. And Phoenix all over. Big triple-double from Alyssa Thomas in a 102-72 victory over the somewhat hapless Dallas Wings.
Hapless, but with Paige Becker's Dallas Wings. So
hapless for now.
All is not lost. Yeah.
Right.
Today's schedule, Major League Baseball at 7:10. The Guardians will continue their series in Houston against the Astros. Get you a nap after 4 o'clock because we don't want you falling asleep on us. But at 9 o'clock, the Atlanta Braves begin a 3-game series in West Sacramento, California against the Athletics. Again, that's a 9:05 start. You can see it on the MLB Network and on FanDuel. A more reasonable start for the Nashville Sounds over in Durham. Those two will face off at 5:35 tonight to open a 6-game International League Series, and we'll be talking more about the Sounds later in the show as well. WNBA action, we've already got a final as the Washington Mystics edged the Chicago Sky 81-79. It'll be the Aces at the Liberty at 7 o'clock tonight. That game can be seen on ESPN, so you can check that out before the Braves get going. I think that's my point. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Action continues at Wimbledon. And the Russian that we talked about with the bad line call yesterday, during yesterday's show, took place over the weekend. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, I think, maybe.
Close enough.
Yeah, falls to Amanda Anisimova. Yeah, Anisimova. That win pushes Anisimova into the Wimbledon quarterfinals. So they are advancing. Obviously, this thing wraps up over the weekend, but we got a lot of tennis activity going on over in England.
Yeah, big match this morning as the world's number one, Ariana Sabalenka, stubbed her toe in a big way, but somehow, seemingly, I don't know if she was sleepwalking, but she had the goods to rally back, dropped the first set, came back and looked pretty dominant in set two, winning that one 6-2, and then fell behind in set three. And you're thinking, is the world's number one seriously going to lose to the world's number 103? But it wasn't meant to be, as Sabalenka ends up somehow picking herself up off the mat. She's kind of sleptwalked in some high-key moments as of late, but she had the goods to survive. You mentioned Anisimova from the U.S., kind of one of our last real hurrahs on the women's side of things, at least. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, when they get back out later this week, we can talk about her doing some good things and kind of bringing some magic. But, man, I'm still fascinated. You can tell I know these athletes take great care of themselves, but as Bill Riddle told us, this was almost going to be a war of attrition, especially on the women's side, just because the temperatures are so hot and so unseasonably hot across the pond. And we've seen some big retirements already, and we've seen some key injuries. But hopefully everybody stays hydrated. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, and we get something decent. The women's feels like a real crapshoot right now based on some of those results we gave you a moment ago.
Yeah, you mentioned Anisimova kind of carrying the hopes of the U.S. forward. The men are kind of down to the last gasp as far as that goes as well. But one of those guys is Ben Sheldon, who continues to impress.
Big bad southpaw, hard serve. He's kind of coming into his own. Making his first ever quarterfinal, and talk about setting the stage. He goes against the world's number one, Jannik Sinner, tomorrow, who we referenced on yesterday's show, is only in the quarterfinals because his opponent had to retire with a 2-set lead due to injury. So make of that what you will, but the fact is Shelton's got a chance to really kind of continue to further thrust himself into the national spotlight. And there's not much not to like about this kid. He's kind of already winning folks over. And, yeah, he is going to be key to watch. But also, something to be said for Taylor Fritz and what we saw him do. He got a nice win earlier today after some early struggles in the first couple of rounds. He seems to be playing well. So it is kind of shaping up to be a good weekend as we get ready to close the fortnight coming up in a few days' time.
Yeah, I saw something on Twitter yesterday. I did not realize until I saw this that Shelton's dad, Brian, was within reach of the 94 Wimbledon quarters. That would have been his best Grand Slam performance. He came up a game short there. But
Yeah, the former Randolph Raider down in Huntsville, Mr. Brian Shelton back in the day.
Huh. There's always a local connection, right?
And local enough for us.
There we go. We'll adapt Huntsville for the moment anyway. So yeah, that's pretty big. Okay.
And yeah,
Congrats
I
to
mean,
him.
he's got that. There's a clip where Ben, I believe it was his sister, he basically paid for her personal time off. He paid and contacted the company that she works for to get her to be able to come and kind of be there for Wimbledon too. So, like I said, everything about this guy is phenomenal. He also just happens to serve 250 miles an hour. I mean, it is fun to watch, and I think a lot of folks, if they're tuning in tomorrow, just for the sheer factor of the underdog, right? Going up against the world's number one, you got the USA factor at play there. It will be a fun match when they kick it off. That one is set for 8:30 tomorrow morning.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of support he gets, the former Florida Gator, here locally.
I mean, you got to let that you got to let bygones be bygones. We're USA, baby. We got to try and bring this home. Hopefully, but I mean, it could be. I mean, the stage is set, right? I mean, you could have Shelton and Fritz. I'm not holding my breath on Fritz beating Alcaraz, but you could have Fritz versus Shelton right there on the Wimbledon Lawn and Grass Club this weekend. It'll be fun. And if Shelton gets by center, all he has to do then to get to the championship is go out and beat most likely Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, depending on who you ask. So the stage is set for some really compelling theater. It will be just up to this still very young and kind of bushy-tailed kid to go out and take it, but it's going to be electric tomorrow morning.
As you talked with Bill last Thursday, Wade, did he give any indication? I mean, obviously these guys are used to playing on both grass and clay, but do they have any preference, particularly when the grass is playing the way it is this week with the heat and everything? I'm looking at some pictures here, and grass does not look great.
Yeah, and Bill kind of said as much. He said that will potentially favor some serve and volley type players that perhaps like to serve and then run right up to the net is what I mean there with serve and volley. That type of play could be more beneficial as the tournament has drug on and as the grass kind of dies out and it gets a little faster. Some of that skill factor can kind of be mitigated a little bit. Shelton's a great player in and of his own right, but I've mentioned on a handful of occasions he can serve it to the moon and back. But that's not all his game is, but he does have that in his back pocket. I mean, we're looking at the men's draw. You have 1 versus 10. 22 versus 6. Fritz beat the number 17 player in the world today. You had the last hopeful of the United Kingdom go down to Alcaraz, the world's number 2. So, I mean, if seeds played out, you'd have Sinner and Djokovic 1 and 2 versus 2 and 5. 1 and 6 versus 2 and 5 on the other side of the bracket. It could be an electric weekend, as I'm saying. And we just saw Sinner and Alcaraz go the distance in a 5-set thriller a couple weeks ago. I kind of would like to see that, but also that would come at the expense of our American guys, so I wouldn't want to see that as well.
There you go. And going back to the women's side for just a second, with Coco getting knocked out so early and Pegula going out as well, the U.S. women have not held up so well. It almost looks like it's Sabalenka's to lose, and I guess with her being the number 1 seed, that's about the way you would have thought it would go anyway, but still. Just doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot of resistance this time around for her.
Perhaps, but I mean, like I said, she was dead to rights this morning. It looked as if she did not get up and get her routine going. She didn't have the coffee or whatever. Maybe she had gone out, into Soho down there in London and celebrated or something last night. She didn't look great, and she was teetering, trailing by 3 games in that third and deciding set there. Somehow rallied. Bill said as much too, though. The WTA, the women's tour right now, is just completely kind of up for grabs. I will not be shocked if Sabalenka wins it, but I will also not be shocked if somebody else reaches up and grabs it.
So there you go. Wade with the insight, with a little help from Bill Riddle.
Yeah, Bill setting us up. I love watching Wimbledon. Anytime I got an excuse to get up early and watch stuff, and I mean, we're smack dab in the middle of summer. There ain't much else going on. Get the strawberries and cream out and celebrate.
Yeah, I like it. I tweeted something out regarding this segment, and I went #Wimbledon and I look back at it, and it's got the strawberry next to it. So
Bill posted a picture of a strawberries and cream. I don't want to call it a sandwich, but it was kind of almost a sandwich the other day, and he shared that on his gram, and he basically said, I don't know, I'm all for strawberries and cream, but I don't know about this concoction. So they lean into it. It seems pretty well over there.
Maybe it was a shortcake, not a sandwich.
I mean, it looked as if like it almost reminded you of a Uncrustables type situation, which are great in and of their own right. And based on the picture, I might have preferred an Uncrustable over what he was opting for.
Whatever that was, yeah,
absolutely.
There we go. Let's take a break here on Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be visiting with the Blue Raider voice, the pride of the dimple, Chip Walters. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
3-3.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
I'm ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. In our final segment, we will be giving you our top 5 falls from grace of pretty high-profile athletes. Should be interesting.
What about coaches?
Right now, maybe we should say sports figures instead of athletes. We can make that adjustment.
I'm a Michigan fan. That would be beneficial to me.
That said, yeah. Sports figures falls from graces. There we go. Yeah, let's do that. No worries of such with our next guest, the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, always graceful. Chip, good afternoon.
Well, I was not graceful just now, turning into a parking lot about an hour ago because I was I cut it a little short and made a boo-boo. So that's why I was running a little late.
Oh goodness!
Oh,
Everybody okay? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Oh, except my right front tire. So
did you pop it?
Popped it. So
Mm,
I'm on
yeah.
the donut.
Oh, that's always fun. Well, I would ask how you are, but I think we now know. So
I can confirm that it is hot outside today.
Yeah, it's a little hotter when you're changing a tire too. But what's happening on campus other than you popping tires?
Well, we're kicking the tires on a new building that'll be opening soon. So trying to connect one with the other there, but over the last several days, been lots of pallets and lots of uh, giant cardboard boxes and wrapping material outside the building, which tells me there is a lot of new furniture going in, and so that means you're getting pretty close. A lot of landscapers. I saw yesterday this is, of course, we're talking about the Denise and Steve Smith Student Athlete Performance Center, and yesterday landscaping crews were out putting in irrigation, and already a lot of the landscaping around the building has gone in. So between that and a lot of cleanup, we're looking at 22 days from today. So 3 weeks basically from tomorrow, we'll cut the ribbon. But football is planning on being in that building prior to the ribbon cutting, and so it's my understanding that either one day this week or next week, they're going to have the moving of the weight room equipment from the old one to the new one, and I'm hoping that is the day that I'm out of town. When they're
Good day to be gone.
Moving the weight. There's a lot of new stuff going in, but there's a lot of stuff that's going to transfer over, and it's going to go from where it is currently in one of the dance studios out to the ground floor of the new SAPC, and so that's happening. A lot of I've already seen some pictures inside. I've still not haven't had a chance to walk through the building, but looking forward to it. It's going to be a whole new experience for student athletes of every sport. But the first ones who'll be able to take advantage of it will be football, volleyball, and soccer, as they're the fall sports that'll be getting ready. And of course, football moves their entire operation, offices, equipment, everything, training room, all out to the new building. And so when fall camp starts right around the 1st of August, everything will be based out of the SAPC.
I can see a video forthcoming as they're moving that weight equipment.
Ooh, I would hope so.
Yeah.
I'd volunteer I'd volunteer to shoot the video instead of
shoot it.
That's right. Instead of be in it.
That's the pro move. Just go ahead and volunteer for that. Hey, let me just step up and take care of this.
Take yourself out of the mix. Yeah,
I can give you another angle here. Let me get this going. So that's big doings.
Something they'll have some fun with, I would think.
Yeah, they've already been putting out some interesting numbers about how many miles of wiring are in this building. There are 151 doors. There's, my daddy would say that you could put a lot of hay in this building, but that's some good Carter's Creek talking right there. But 85,000 square feet. I'm waiting to hear what the cubic feet of this building is. That'll be another eye-popping stat that'll be adventurous for some folks to take a look at here soon.
Chip, I'm curious. Hey, is this a situation where day one everybody's going to snap right in and we know exactly where things are, or is there still going to be a little just easing into it in terms of the overall flow of the building, you think?
Well, the good thing is, the way that the building is divided up is that the football locker room, weight room, recovery, nutrition is all on the first floor. So athletic training. So basically, for football players, volleyball players, soccer players, if they go in and hang out on the main floor and look around, or on the first floor, they should be able to find what they're looking for pretty quickly. Now, once football players go upstairs to the second floor, That's where the coaches' offices are, the breakout rooms, and there's two bigger rooms, one for offense, one for defense, and then you have the full team theater, which has, from my understanding, 160 big boy theater seats in it that can accommodate the entire football team, and that's all on the second floor. All those coaches' offices look out over the north end zone of Floyd Stadium, and then the third floor is all hospitality, food, premium seating. There will be team meals, things up there like that. But really, on a normal work day for football and the other sports, the first floor is going to be where all the action is going to be taking place, except when they're in their meeting rooms. But locker room, weight room, training room, all on the main floor.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Chip, Nick Vattiato spent some time down in Louisiana here recently at the Manning Passing Academy. Have you, has anybody had a chance to catch up with him since he got back and get his thoughts on how things went?
I'm curious. I don't think he was at Reed Blankenship's wedding this weekend, but as a matter of fact, we've got a couple of Blue Raiders celebrity weddings I can tell you about here quickly in a minute. But
the society page here
the society
on Main
page,
Street
that's
Sports
right.
today. Yeah,
Betty Banner right here to pull an old to tell us how old we are. But I haven't had a chance to talk to Nick. I've seen a lot of photos of him and Spencer Rattler and whoever the young man, his name eludes me right now, it's a quarterback at Ole Miss. I saw them all kind of hanging out. But this is second year in a row that Vattiato has been invited to be part of the Manning Passing Academy, which says a lot about him and what they think of him. He's already been on several different preseason Conference USA teams. He's not been the first team guy. I've seen him on a couple of second teams, Athlon, which has just come out. He's the third team QB, and I looked and saw who was second team, and I'm thinking, I think they got this backwards, but that's just me. That's just me talking.
Chip, real quick, you went through though. You mentioned Spencer Rattler. They're hosting that thing down there, and I mean, at this point with the Saints QB room, it might just be kind of they could maybe do better just have an open competition, and the winner of the academy gets the Saints starting job this year.
Well, we've seen college coaches do things where they give out scholarships to walk-ons. It could be the Saints up there in Thibodaux, Louisiana, at the Manning Passing Academy, handing out contracts up there. So, I mean, there've been, we've probably heard crazier things already this week, but yeah, you may be onto something there.
Could be onto something, but to bring it a little more serious, though, that is a cool thing for MTSU just to kind of and Nick obviously, but for the university just kind of be in that same breath. Maybe it doesn't carry quite the same cachet it feels like that it used to, but man, that is a big deal in those circles.
And I think Brent Stockstill went twice as a participant and once as an instructor. So there's been a pretty good relationship between the Manning folks and Blue Raider football. So fun to see that happening. Yes. And by the way, Nick, one of the things that is kind of one of his calling cards is, he's a back-to-back 3,000-yard passer and has a chance to make it 3 in a row, which that's a rarefied air around here.
Chip, you mentioned the Ole Miss quarterback, Austin Simmons. That's a kid who reclassified, I think, from the class of 23 to the class of 25 to the class of 23. So this kid is 19 years old, and he's been on campus for like 3 years, I think. He's got to be one of the youngest college football players in the country, right there with Ryan Williams, who we heard about all last year at Alabama. But I just feel like that's a really intriguing situation down there. At his age, to have been in a program for as long as he has, and sitting behind a guy like Jackson Dart, that's got to be beneficial for everybody involved there. I would think.
Well, absolutely, and Jackson Dart was a good story, and of course his story came back up even more during the NFL draft and how all that went. But we got to see Jackson Dart in person, and he's from that day on, we thought obviously he was the real deal, and obviously getting good offensive coaching with Lane Kiffin and that staff, that's just going to happen. And he was able, to sit back, soak it in, and hopefully the same thing is happening, for this young man. He was able to be wide-eyed and observe and put himself in a good position going into this fall.
Also, a baseball player at Ole
really?
Miss. Yeah. So
For Mike Bianco.
That's disgustingly talented there, to say the least. But yeah, again, to bring this thing back on track, though, nice exposure for Nick Vattiato to be around the folks that he was around while he was down there, and hopefully will be beneficial on the field this fall for the Blue Raiders.
Yep, absolutely. And the thing is, if you know Nick at all, he's one of those kids who will take full advantage of that opportunity and try to soak in as much as he can. So I look forward to kind of running into him soon. So do you want to lead right? It's a perfect segue in. Well, first of all, we mentioned we'll run through these real quick. Athlon selections to their preseason All-Conference USA team. First team middle had no offensive players. On defense had defensive lineman Anthony Bynum. Second team, you had no offensive players. And on defense had Shakai Woods and Parker Hughes, both one defensive lineman, one linebacker, and also John House, who is back after going into the portal, but came back. And that is a great veteran to have at safety. Third team, Nick Vattiato, we mentioned, Ja'Kale Middlebrook, running back, Miles Butler, who is the heir apparent to the top wide receiving spot for middle. And third team defensively, DeMonte Smith, who seemed to really come along, Alex Mitchell, linebacker out of Riverdale, transfer in this year. And then your fourth teamers, you've got Mateo Guevara. He is on the offensive lineman and one of three Blue Raider linemen who have started their own peanut butter company, which we may have mentioned last week. And that's pretty much it. But Mateo and two other linemen, I'm not sure who they are, they started Blindside Peanut Butter, and they now sell it at the they probably sell it online. I haven't checked, but they also sell it at the Saturday morning farmers market on the square in Murfreesboro.
That's
entrepreneurship.
Intriguing. Yeah, gotta like that.
Right. Yep, that's part of the, hey, make your own NIL. So there you go.
You mentioned the quarterback situation in terms of Athlon's preseason All-Conference USA selections. First team selection at QB was Maverick McIver out of Western Kentucky. Second team is Keon Jennings out of FIU. And then you get Nick Vattiato with the third team, and Ethan Vasco of Liberty is your fourth team preseason All-CUSA quarterback. And so
three of the four have never taken a snap in this league.
Well, alrighty then. Are those two that are ahead of Nick, are they both transfers in from somewhere then, I take it? Or have they been in those programs?
I think McIver is, I'm pretty sure. And and the kid at Liberty follows Caden Salter, who transferred out. And so I think all three of those may be. You've got the kid at FIU may have been there
Okay.
at FIU a year ago,
Um,
but he was
you
a
mentioned
starter. Yeah.
you mentioned John House coming back out of the portal, which is rare, but sometimes it happens, obviously. But you've seen him play. Played his ball, high school ball at Brentwood. Originally signed with Vanderbilt with Coach Mason down there, and transferred over. But he's back there at safety. How does he compare to Ryan? Does he compare to Ryan?
Well, I can't answer that. But what I can tell you is when John House got injured last year, about 3 or 4 games in, it made a difference in the secondary because you lost a veteran guy, you lost a leader, and a guy with experience, and that showed. You feel like with if you'd had him for the entire season last year, that this defense would have been much better on third down. And simply because having his savvy and experience back there and having gone through it as much as he had. So, you automatically kind of feel better. And from what we saw on the other pieces of the defense, the Athlon folks and the Phil Steele people, they've all, you've got 2 or 3 different defensive linemen who've gotten preseason honors, a couple of linebackers. So, I think middle defensively is returning some good folks. And really when you talk about John House, he's almost one of your biggest gets because you only had him for the non-conference a year ago. You didn't have him for the Conference USA season, but he is big, smart, knows how to play, and a veteran. And then on offense, the question marks are, the facts are you now have a huge offensive line. The question is, how talented are these big linemen that you've brought in? Because middle is going to have a completely different look up front on both sides of the ball with a lot of size that they have brought in. When you have 62 new faces on your roster, 42 of which are scholarship players, 20 walk-ons, your team should have a different look. And somebody asked Derek Mason during the Blue Raider Blitz, he goes, what did you go looking for? He goes, we're 3-9. We went looking for everything. And that's one of the things he has not hidden from this football team being 3-9, having trouble on third down, and we're much more of a penalized football team than he cares to talk about. And so those are areas right there that, third down gets better on defense when you're better on first and second down. And the same goes for the offense. If you're playing ahead of the chains, your percentages on 3rd and 2 are much better than 3rd and 7. So, I'm no math major, but it's that just seems to work out that way. So, they came out into the offseason with some very specific things they needed to do. And cut down on penalties is a big one of those. And that's something that just by sheer numbers you can look at the end of the game. And in particular, when you're talking about pre-snap penalties, and post-snap penalties, things are going to happen in the heat of battle, but you got to get lined up right. You got to make sure you got the right amount of people on the field, which they've put a lot of work into making sure those are problems that don't crop up again this year.
To that point, Chip and guys, really, I'm reading from Phil Steele, and he makes that point. He said, man, they had 7 starters back last year. They were 107th in the country on his experience rankings, and you got a new head coach. And he didn't like them to have a great year last year, but he said, obviously you feel good about where his prediction was for him personally. But he says, look for them to be one of the most improved teams because they kind of got, I guess what I'm taking away from this is you can see the glimmer and you just have a flat out clearer picture of what to expect when you're in a second year of a regime like this.
Yeah, and you know, and also I think the coaching staff and Derek's talked about it a lot is you know, now he goes I've done the math part, we've got the players, now I've got to be a chemistry professor and get this team uh, to play as a team, and that's where coaches, I think, earn their money when you get right down to it. Because you know, everybody can go out and talk about the shiny new things you have and all of that, but coaching players and having a great locker room, and are you I remember, I'm trying to think who had this quote, but it was, are can you be satisfied with your teammates' success? You know,
Hmm.
are you happy about your teammates having success? And that's when you have a team full of guys that celebrate their teammates' successes, then that catches on like wildfire, and that's a good thing to have.
Chip, to your point regarding and to Wade's point about Phil Steele's outlook, MTSU is predicted seventh in the 12-team Conference USA by Athlon Sports, and so
Right in the
there's a
middle of the
little
pack.
up right in the middle of the pack. There's a little upward mobility there, though, after a 3-9 2024 campaign. So you feel like that's moving in the right direction. I don't know, you know, what necessarily would be progress or what would be success for Derek Mason in his eyes, but it feels like to me, if this is a bowl team this year, I think MTSU fans would be ecstatic with that.
I think that bounce back would I think you're right in that sense, and two, I think you know it when you see it. You know when you watch a football team, you can understand if they're playing better. And you know this team has a in my opinion, a favorable conference schedule. You don't play Liberty, you don't play Louisiana Tech, you don't. Uh, so those two are not on your schedule. You've got your first three, and I'm going to get to it right quick here. Football schedule. Your first three conference games uh, at Kennesaw, Missouri State, and Delaware. So you've got Kennesaw, who moved up last year, and Missouri State and Delaware, who are both moving up from 1AA to 1A this year. So you couldn't get much more of a favorable conference start than what the schedule makers have given you right there. So, there's an opportunity to get off to a good start. And if you do that and get a little momentum going, you've got Jacksonville State at home before facing FIU at home. So there's opportunities for momentum throughout the schedule. You look at the non-conference schedule, and Wisconsin is the one that you look at and say, man, that would take a Herculean effort to go and win in Madison, Wisconsin. But everything else, Austin P at home, Marshall at home, and a road game at Nevada are games that you feel like non-conference wise you should be right in the thick of.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Before we let him out of here, a couple of things. One, staff change on the men's golf coaching staff.
Michael Bernard has been added. This is a position that Mark McIntyre likes to turn over every year or two, and typically has had former players in that position. And he, Michael Bernard was 22, 23 grad, something like that, had a career scoring average of like 72 and a half, something ridiculous. And just one of those really good guys. And what Coach McIntyre likes to do is get these guys in, come back to the program, be an assistant coach for a year or two, and and then send them on their way, either as a club pro, an assistant coach at maybe a Power 5, or a head coach somewhere else, at a maybe a lower Division 1 or Division 2 school. And I think about David Head, who came through, and he's now the head coach at Trevecca, and other folks like that. So we've seen a lot of that. Michael Bernard, great guy, and he will be a really nice addition.
And ABC always be recruiting. That is Nick McDevitt's apparent motto these days. We got a new Blue Raider men's basketball player.
It's correct. This should fill out the roster. Haven't seen an official notification from the university, but it's been out on social media. James Dent Jr., 6'5". He'll be a grad student when he gets here. It's my understanding he has 2 summer classes he's finishing up right now in beautiful DeKalb, Illinois. And last year was pretty much leading everything on a team that struggled in the MAC at Northern Illinois. He averaged about 15 points and 5 rebounds a game and about 3.5 assists per game. He kind of comes in, similar situation as Jalen Counter did a year ago. Jalen was on an IUPUI team, or IP Fort Wayne team, actually, that, he was the leading everything on that ball club. And James Dent, same thing at Northern Illinois. So that'll make it 15 on the roster, but he because he's in summer school, he won't get here until right around the first or second week of August. But that's from what I understand, just reading off some of the transfer pundits off of social media. But here's a guy who shoots about 36% from 3. I did see he started all 31 games a year ago, and I did see where he had a 36-point game last year against Central Michigan. So it looks like a good get again for Coach McDevitt.
I would say this: if I had the choice between spending a summer in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and spending a summer in DeKalb, Illinois, Mr. Dent might have gotten it right.
More importantly, spending a winter in Murfreesboro as as opposed to DeKalb, Illinois.
That's true too. That's true too. Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here.
I do want to give the quick shout out to the celebrity weddings I was talking about.
Oh yes, please
tell us more.
First one that happened about 3 weeks ago. Former Blue Raider quarterback Chase Cunningham married former Lady Raider softballer Shelby Sargent. So that there was that celebrity wedding. And this past weekend, Blue Raider safety Reed Blankenship married Elsa Schaefer, the daughter of Reed's college defensive coordinator Scott Schaefer. So Reed and Elsa are now honeymooning, and before he has to go into OTAs and fall camp. But there's a couple of Blue Raider shout outs for celebrity weddings.
Well, there you go. Congrats to the new.
We bring it all.
We bring it all. That's full circle. Well done by you, Chippo.
Absolutely. Chip, we appreciate it. We're on our own next week. Is that right?
That's correct. That is correct. So I appreciate the week off.
Well, enjoy it. And
we will do the best we can.
We'll hang in there, and we'll catch up with you here in a couple of weeks.
You may get photos anyway. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
See you, Chip.
Bye.
All right.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll talk a little baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
July 8th, 2018. In his fourth season with Atlanta and his 13th in the majors, outfielder Nick Markakis was announced as a starter for the following week's All-Star game. He would set records for the most games played and most hits by a player making his All-Star game debut with 1,933 games and 2,172 hits. Cake was hitting .322 with 10 homers and 59 RBIs at the time of his selection, finished the year with a .297 batting average, 14 home runs and 93 ribs while playing in all 162 regular season games with the Braves. That was this day in Braves history. The Braves head west again, as we mentioned during the rundown, looking to kind of snap a feudal streak. They've lost their last four now, including a sweep at the hands of the Orioles over the weekend at Truist Park. They will take on the host Athletics tonight in West Sacramento. The Braves 39-50 on the year. The Athletics 37-55, boasting a pair of All-Star game selections. Well, one voted in, shortstop Jacob Wilson, one reserve first baseman / DH, and former evangelical Christian standout Brent Rooker making his second All-Star game appearance. But this is a Athletics team that, especially when you're 39-50, you can't afford to overlook. So it'll be interesting to see how things go for Atlanta tonight. Didier Fuentes 0-2 with a 9 ERA, making his fourth start of the year for Atlanta. Jeffrey Springs 6-6 with a 4.07 ERA, getting the ball for the Athletics. Again, Atlanta 2-9 over their last 11. Of those 9, 3 have been by shutout, and in 3 others, they've only scored 1 run. So it's not hard to figure out where the struggles start for Atlanta.
Well, if you're looking for some potential offense, that is the ballpark to do it. Don't know, trying to scramble to find an official forecast for tonight, but over-under in that game's listed at 10.5. Balls seemingly fly out of that place, especially in the day games. Whenever it gets really warm, it's been a juice box to say the least. So if you're looking to tune in to some offensive firepower, that might be your ticket tonight.
Well, you know, the way the Braves have been swinging it of late, I'm a little concerned, because if they get close to that 10.5, I'm just hopeful the Braves can hold up their end of that, but we'll see how it goes. Interesting matchup. Athletics managed by Mark Kotsay, who is a former Atlanta Brave, played 88 games on the 2018, spent 17 years in the majors at 6 different spots in addition to Atlanta, played his college ball at Cal State Fullerton, faced the Vols in the 1995 World Series, as a matter of fact. So, again, this is the first of 3 between the Athletics and the Braves before they go on to St. Louis for 3 games before the All-Star break. That'll be back in Atlanta. So it would be nice. It'd be nice to get a win the way things are going right now for this team. A series win would be really cool, and a sweep, I'm not even sure I can fathom that. So Cleveland snapped a 10-game skid in Houston last night, defeating the Astros 7-5, despite a couple of home runs from Taylor Trammell and Isaac Paredes, temporarily cooling off the Astros, who have been red hot of late.
Yeah, I had a feeling this. I gave the results of the last series that they met in the early part of June, and a lot of those games were close. I referenced the one that goes to extra innings. Sounded like it ended up being, a close game. Man, and the Guardians, I'm still not sure what to make of them because that was the team that a lot of folks thought would probably win that division this year, fending off the Tigers, as talented as they were even coming into the year. They kind of hadn't really got it all together. They still got a little sign of life, but their offense has kind of been a little bit of a letdown. So that's kind of what makes last night a little frustrating. If it had been a 2-1 or, a 3-2 type game, wouldn't feel as bad. When you give up 7 to an offense, maybe they have turned a little bit of a corner, but to an offense that's kind of underachieved this year, that one kind of is a stinker.
Yeah, Cleveland improves to 41-48 with that win, again snapping a 10-game losing streak. Houston falls to 55-36. They will play it again at 7:10 tonight. Joey Cantillo, 1-0 with a 3.41 earned run average, will get the start for the Guardians. It'll be American League Cy Young candidate, as per John Denton of MLB.com. Hunter Brown, going for his 10th win. He is 9-3 with a 1.82 earned run average coming into this start. And, those are Cy Young candidate numbers. So we might have to get John back on and kind of give him a midseason victory lap with that one.
Close enough, though, to still finish second to Scooball, but a valiant effort nonetheless.
Well,
correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's definitely Scooball and everybody else at this point, but still 9-3, a chance for double-digit wins before the break is not a bad place to be, particularly for a guy as young as Hunter Brown is. So,
yeah, it'd be nice to see them get a win. You don't want to necessarily let a lot of that momentum that you had kind of just slide away. They kind of, if they wanted to, could, just kind of coast into the break. But then you wonder what happens on the other side. It'd be, you want to keep that going. So I don't want to see them drop too many, especially starting tonight. Yeah, this will be a wasted effort if they can't get something out of this one. They got the big showdown with the Rangers coming up this weekend. So hopefully they can peel off some of that momentum starting tonight.
There you go. Nashville opens a 6-game series over at Durham tonight. That is a 5:35 start. But right now, if you go to NashvilleSounds.com, they have a live auction going on for their Salute to Armed Forces jerseys that they wore back on May 25th in conjunction with the Memorial Day weekend. That auction will continue through September 12th. They will wear those one more time before they are available. But again, you can go to NashvilleSounds.com and bid on some game-worn Salute to Armed Forces jerseys if you're into that sort of thing. A couple of changes to the Sounds roster announced earlier today. Outfielder Daz Cameron was outrighted to Nashville, and pitcher Chad Patrick has been optioned down. So they will be joining the team in Durham this week, presumably. Meanwhile, it was announced yesterday that Tobias Myers has been named the International League Pitcher of the Week. threw 6 scoreless in Memphis on July 4th, struck out 8, gave up just 2 hits and no walks. And again, the Sounds went 4-2 in that split series. The first 3 here, the last 3 in Memphis. Nashville swept those 3 in Memphis, won that game 6-1 on the 4th of July. So nice performance from Mr. Myers, who becomes the 5th different Nashville Sound to earn weekly honors from the International League this season. Jacob Mizorowski was named Pitcher of the Week twice. Ernesto Martinez Jr. and the aforementioned Daz Cameron were named Players of the Week in back-to-back weeks in April. So the Sounds got some guys to keep an eye on between here and Milwaukee, it sounds like. And Tobias Myers would certainly be one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they open that series at Durham tonight. Durham, the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays. So should be interesting over there. Let's take a break here as we continue Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we will be joined by Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. They've got a little hoedown coming up here later this month. We'll talk to him more about that after the break. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Welcome into the second hour of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton, and joining us now is the Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, Brad Willis.
Hey, gentlemen.
How are you doing, sir?
What's up, Brad?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you joining us. The TSHOF will have its 2025 induction class ceremony on Saturday, July 19th at the Omni Nashville. And if you don't have a ticket, you should probably correct that real soon. Right, Brad?
That's right. So correct it very soon. It's crazy. It's hard to believe we're 11 days out. And this is a process that really kind of takes half of the calendar year to build towards, all the way back in December when our nomination committee is selecting this class, and then the months that follow just trying to make everybody aware of the news and then get things in order. It's been a great event for the last few years. Really excited that we're back at the Omni in Nashville. Just a great central location for everyone across the state to come and gather, and they do a great job of hosting our event. And so we're really excited to celebrate this class of 2025, which is our 60th class all time. I think it'll be a great night on July 19th, and tickets are available at our website, as you mentioned, tshf.net, if you're interested and wanting to come be a part of it.
Brad, what has this last 13 months roughly been like for you since the actual physical Hall of Fame has been dark?
It's been interesting. There's a lot of relationship building going on right now. When I first started in 2020, it was about create visibility. We have a museum and we're kind of buried there at Bridgestone Arena in a great location, but unless you were coming in for the box office or the visitor center or something like that, you might not know we were there. The last 13 months have been different in the sense that there's not a space to invite people to. It's really about making sure they're aware of what our long-term plans are, where we'll be, and kind of what we're all about. And it's as we look and kind of build toward the new museum, which will open in 2027 at the new Nissan Stadium. It's about building out a family-friendly attraction for downtown Nashville. It's about shining a light on a lot of the positive stories that have come through the world of athletics in the state of Tennessee, and just really kind of being a rallying point. When you think about sports as being something that kind of pulls us all together, we're really excited about being at what will be the epicenter of sports and entertainment in Nashville and probably arguably the entire state. We're excited about being there and being something that people can take part in for lots of different events.
Brad, as you see the construction go by, and I mean every 4 hours, it feels like you see a new piece go up. Are you strong arming your way in? How soon can we get our space kind of carved out there? I want to get a look at it. Is that what you've reduced to?
And almost more so than that, losing sleep. Every day that building gets taller, the more sleep I lose, because you realize that we're getting closer every day. And I mean, the last year, watching that building kind of come out of the ground and seeing within the last 3 months it double in height, being able to go and take a couple of site visits and see not just our space, but really what that entire structure will be. It's something that people are absolutely going to be floored by when they're able to kind of walk through and check it out. It's almost hard to put into words, Wade. I mean, frankly, it's one of those things that you can see from the outside, you can see from the drone shots and Sky 5, and you're just like, wow, that's really going to be something. But when you're actually in it and walking around and you can see the thought that's been put into that space for how people ingress and egress, and I really do believe it's going to be a wonderful user experience, if that's the right word, for a fan. And for us to be there, you're right. I mean, we're chomping at the bit. We'd love to be open before the building is open. And I think, it's going to be a challenge, and one that we welcome, just to be open in February of 2027, because there's just so much to be done. When you look at it from the outside, you get, kind of this sense that it's closer than it is. And so here we are, we're, probably still a year and a half away from it opening, and it feels like tomorrow. So to your point, yeah, we're chomping at the bit. We're so excited about being in that space and being a part of it, and really just looking forward to big announcements and big things that continue to come as that building nears completion.
As you get closer to, Brad, I might have asked you this question before, so I apologize, but to the best of your knowledge, can you kind of put into context, are there any other similar Hall of Fames or organizations that are housed in similar arenas or stadiums? Kind of maybe, if you would, give us the closest. We know we're going to be the best, but give us the closest kind of current gold standard, if you will.
Well, I'll tell you, I had the pleasure of visiting the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame at Lambeau Field a couple of years ago, and Lambeau Field, if you recall, underwent a really transformative renovation where they took that building, which was very, I mean, it was historic, but it was very rudimentary in the sense that it was just steel and chain link on the outside, and they really built around the existing structure in a way to honor the history, but they also did it in such a way where it went from Lambeau Field being an event or a venue that was open for 10 events a year to a venue that's open 364 days a year, right? And so their sports Hall of Fame, the Packers Hall of Fame, is one that when I saw it and kind of how it lived inside Lambeau Field, and really the anchor that it became for that atrium and the restaurant and everything else that's in that space now, I came back from Green Bay kind of telling folks like this is a really good model for what we could be. And frankly, based on the designs and things that have gone into it so far, I think the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame will even be more prominent for Nissan Stadium than the Packers Hall of Fame is for Lambeau Field. And that part of that is placement. Part of that is, we're right there on that west side, that southwest corner. So many of the people who enter for concerts and events are going to walk right past, our entrance and a glass wall that shows really kind of what's to do inside. So yeah, I mean, the Packers is probably the closest that I've seen. Now, not a state museum per se,
right,
but one that I feel like really kind of matches what we have planned in terms of being right there in an NFL stadium.
Brad Willis, Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. We've not checked in with you, Brad, since your last gotcha, but tell us about Shea Weber and how that went down a couple of months ago.
Shea Weber, the final of the 2025 inductees that we were able to announce. Really excited that the former Preds captain is part of this year's class. He was in town with his son as part of a youth hockey tournament and was taking in a Predators game. And so we worked with their
That was
staff.
convenient.
It was convenient. It was convenient because he's back and forth to Canada. His rights have moved around. He's not officially retired, and yet he hasn't played since 2021. It's one of those situations where your rights kind of remain with a team. And so he had rights with Utah for a while, and I believe his rights got traded to did I see it was Detroit the last. He had come in for a youth hockey tournament with his son, and so we were able to kind of catch him unaware. He was there catching up with old friends, and we were able to kind of break the news to him. So he was excited and very appreciative and thankful. This area means a lot to him, both personally and professionally, as it does for all 20 of our inductees. So it was great to be able to kind of hold out till the last minute and still be able to surprise him in a way that we felt like was great.
Now, did you tell him that if he actually plays with the Red Wings and this will be revoked?
No, right? It's like, how did this happen, right? It's one of those kind of quirks of professional contracts. So, sometimes you got to move them around just to spread your books out. And he's kind of on a winding clock. It might expire this year. I'd have to go back and look at the details, but it's one of those deals where he hadn't played in over 3 years, and the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame had already inducted him. So we looked at retirement as a bit of a technicality when it came to Shea's candidacy this year, and I believe that the board made the right move on that one.
Now, do y'all have a 3-year inactive, 3-year retirement requirement then for consideration?
Exactly. And he was one that in terms of when he played last to when we selected, really kind of just came in under that. So much so that some folks at the Preds and I had a conversation like, well, what if he comes back? And it was like, well, the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame, we feel like kind of supersedes. So if he's in the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame, we feel like he's deserving for our Hall of Fame, even if the official retirement paperwork hasn't been turned in yet.
You got to love this class. I mean, you've got to love all of your classes, but you've got to love this class. You've got a couple of Lady Vols there with Tamika Catchings and Chamiqua Holtzclaw coming in together. You've got a obviously revered former Tennessee quarterback in Andy Kelly, who played some ball. Well, not in the building now, but at Bridgestone as a
Yes.
Nashville Cat. You gotta be. Are you a little concerned with Ron Slay? And now he doesn't give a speech, but I mean, just the aura around him in such an occasion as this.
The aura might be off the charts, to be fair. I mean, I'm not concerned. Concerned's probably the wrong word. But you're right. I mean, the man's electric. I mean, he's absolutely electric. And I'm trying to figure out where he fits into the program. It's probably, as we start the final, it's a big class. It's going to be a lot of Q&A, and I want to make sure people are paying attention. And I know for a fact that if anybody's getting shifty in their seats, getting a little late on a Saturday night, I know that Ron Slay will be able to bring them back. So he's one of 20, as you mentioned. I mean, we really couldn't be more excited about this class. I mean, all parts of the state, so many different sports. You mentioned the two Lady Vols. You mentioned Andy Kelly. We've got great representation out of the University of Memphis. The late Ronnie Robinson, Larry Keenan, Stephen Guskowski, Priscilla Gary Sweeney, who was a great Memphis high school star and went on to really kind of set the stage for Kansas State's women's program. And then, you start talking about some of the coaches like George Pitts and Doug Matthews. And I mean, anytime I start listing names, I'm going to leave somebody off. But the fact is that as you go through that list, and as I've gone through it over the last 3 or 4 months, it's one of those where you just go, wow, this is it's such a deserving group of people. And frankly, it's kind of hard to structure the flow because, you've got the Tony Allens of the world. You got the Derek Masons of the world. You've got some absolute home run hitters, and then you've got some stories that are just going to blow people away. So we're really excited about that group and everything that they bring.
You walked right into it, Brad, because on that list too, you got an Olympic gold medalist who just got her degree from Chattanooga, a senior sociology major, Olivia Reeves.
Yes.
Will there be a weightlifting, kind of like a live demo? I'd like to see her and Slay go at it on the clean and jerk a little bit there.
That's a good point. And I think if you've been following Slay on socials, I think Slay just had a little bit of knee surgery. I don't know if it was a full reconstruction or a scope, but I'm just hopeful that he's not on crutches that night. I think that the weightlifting might do him in. But yes, to mention Olivia Reeves, our amateur female athlete of the year, Olympic gold medalist. That's always so cool because you think about just how hard that is for somebody to reach that level in athletics. Really excited that a Tennessean is an Olympic gold medalist. Always want to try to spotlight that. Seth Hennigan, quarterback at Memphis for 4 years. He's getting ready to start his training camp with the Jaguars. He's our amateur male athlete of the year. Our Pat Summit Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Rick Barnes. Really, really excited about Coach Barnes' involvement. And our Tennessean of the year this year, which, a lot of people didn't realize he had such a connection to sports, is Captain Barry Butch Wilmore, and his connection to Tennessee Tech and former football player there, and just a great story of the volunteer spirit. When you think about someone who stepped up and said, we don't know what this Boeing flight might be like. I'll captain that to the International Space Station, and we'll stay there for 8 days, and then it turns into 11 months. Those are the kinds of sacrifices that that people make sometimes when they're in those situations, and really just felt like he personified what it means to have that volunteer spirit, and really excited about having him there as Tennessean of the year.
Yeah. In addition to your Hall of Fame inductions, the yearly honorees are always well-deserving as well. And you ran through a few of those. Reed Blankenship from MTSU and of the Philadelphia Eagles, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles,
That's
or
right.
your is your 2025 Professional Athlete of the Year, presented by Tennessee Athletics. I bet some folks maybe wish they had offered him. But anyway, your female amateur team of the year, Union Basketball, coached by Nashville native Mark Campbell, who was recently inducted into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. You had a tie for male amateur teams of the year. I don't know how often that happens, but obviously both deserving. Tennessee baseball, last year's College World Series champion. Chattanooga basketball, this year's National Invitation Tournament champion.
And we give special consideration to championship teams. I mean, and that's one reason you arrive at a tie is, you kind of get one of those situations where Chattanooga came up very quickly. NIT champions, what a great run they had there at the end of their season. And then Tennessee from 2024 with a national championship. So it's one of those situations where we tend to try to avoid ties. But in a 6-member committee, sometimes you end up 3-3, and that's the way that one went down. And frankly, once the full board met and kind of viewed that, they said, "Hey, these are both deserving. We don't mind giving this award to 2 people or 2 groups." So Tennessee baseball and Chattanooga basketball both very worthy for that honor, and excited to have both of them represented.
Really feels like the right call on y'all's part. So congratulations on that. Going back to the Hall of Fame induction class, though, I'm kind of excited about Elston Turner getting in. And when we talk to you, Brad, typically I use this phrase. It's one of those situations where you come across somebody and it's like they're not already in ? And it feels like that kind of fits Elston Turner from his high school days in Knoxville to his college basketball days down at Ole Miss and his professional exploits, for him to just now be getting in. But at the same time, it's a better late than never deal as well.
Sure. And Elston Turner is a great representative of this state of Tennessee, Knoxville native, Austin East road runner. And I don't know. Sometimes I think about that, and I think about someone who went to high school in Tennessee and then went to college somewhere else. And in Coach Turner's case, Ole Miss, and then went on professionally and kind of played their professional career elsewhere. I think sometimes it's easy for us to lose focus on someone who was born and raised here because maybe they didn't play here collegiately or play here professionally. And I think that's always kind of something we challenge our board with and our committees with, is make sure we're considering homegrown. I mean, if we can tell the story of someone who played here and was born here and checks every box, those are fun and those are awesome. But we got 2 examples this year in Coach Turner and Priscilla Gary Sweeney, who I mentioned, who, most of her success is probably known from playing at Kansas State. And so, we were excited to be able to kind of dig down a little bit and say, where are some of these people who got their start? And in Elston Turner's situation, someone who continues to give back to that community. He's back in Knoxville regularly, giving back and hosting camps and doing those kinds of things. And those are really things that we like to focus on. People who come from communities, who go on to great success through the world of athletics, and then come back into those communities and reinvest. That's big and worthy of a spotlight.
Brad Willis, Executive Director of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. 2025 induction ceremonies and awards banquet will take place again on Saturday, July 19th, at the Omni Nashville. Tickets are available if you go to tshf.net.
That's right.
Brad?
And I'll say too, if I have a quick plug, our television special airs across the state this weekend, 6:00 Saturday night, July 12th. It's a kind of a brief introduction of this entire class of 2025. It'll be on in Nashville. It'll be on in Memphis. It'll be on in Knoxville. It'll be on in Johnson City and Jackson. And then we'll have an airing next weekend on Saturday the 19th in Chattanooga. So check local listings or go to our website. You can get information on that and learn even more about this great class.
But we want to also specify that's not a direct replacement. We still want you to get out there and come down to the Omni, right?
Absolutely. You're gonna experience way more at the Omni than you ever could through a 1-hour television special. So we'd love for you to use it as a primer. Use it as a way to kind of learn all about this class and get excited before you can come see them at the Omni on July 19th.
There you go. Brad, as always, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you having
Look
me.
forward to talking to you again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you all.
All right, man. Thanks. Let's take a break here on Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by TOA of Columbia. When we come back, we'll get into the grab bag, and of course, we'll be wrapping up the show with our top 5 sports figures, falls from grace. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It is Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. In our final segment, we'll be giving you our top 5 sports figures falls from grace. Should be interesting. Stick around. Right now, though, we're getting into the grab bag. Free agency is on and popping in the National Basketball Association, and a lot of folks are keeping an eye on Phoenix, where Bradley Beal and the Phoenix Suns are close to agreeing on a buyout that would make him a free agent. The veteran guard, apparently pretty well coveted by both teams in LA, among others.
Coveted in a sense. Yeah, coveted in a sense, but it's all going to come down to what that contract looks like, because we are talking about the guy with one of the worst contracts as it's currently constructed in the NBA, and obviously the no trade clause. So that's kind of how we get into this mess. But yeah, if the money's right, if the money is kind of a certain way, he's still got some really good value, I think.
Be interesting to see how he would fit on either of those teams, as well as the Warriors and Bucks, who have been mentioned in connection with the longtime guard Bradley Beal. So that's a development to kind of keep an eye on as free agency goes on across the NBA. Meanwhile, former Vanderbilt front quarter Luke Cornett has moved on from Boston to San Antonio, signed a 4-year, $41 million deal recently, and is changing numbers. Worn number 40 throughout his career in Boston. He will be number 7 with the Spurs. Says he's never worn the number before. Honestly, for me, I feel like I'm in a time of life where me and my family, 7 is a big number of covenant and fulfillment and order and the faith. That's kind of what called me to it. The secondary reason was I just hope to be a third of the player that Tim Duncan was.
Now that's good. Lean in. That'll win you some fans right away there. That's a crafty move.
Yeah. For the mathematicians, or for the mathematically challenged, I guess, Tim Duncan was number 21 during his career in San Antonio, where he won multiple championships, 15-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, won 5 NBA championships with the Spurs. So yeah, I guess if you could be a third of the player Tim Duncan was, you'd be in pretty good shape.
Pretty good shape, and his reasons make seemingly a lot more sense than Jaren Jackson, who's going to swap from 13 to 8. We didn't get a real nice kind of heartwarming rationale other than maybe he wore 8 as a McDonald's All-American. No real red carpet rollout for that announcement. But good for Cornette. And I mean, he will be who knows what the Spurs, if they will continue without Pop, he still will be calling the shots in some capacity. But if they continue, Cornette feels like a classic kind of throwback Spurs player, just does a few little dirty things and does a few little extra things that no one else wants to or will. He'll have a pop-off game like we saw with Boston in this postseason. Feels like he could be a good fit.
It's wild to realize that he's been in the league for 8 years. Played with the Knicks, Bulls, Cavs, and Bucks before getting to Boston. But if you had asked me how long Luke Cornette had been gone from Vanderbilt, it wouldn't. My response wouldn't have been 8 years. But I guess maybe that's a reflection of how old I am, more so than a reflection of how old he is. But yeah, heading into his 9th professional season.
And another, he wasn't a massive piece. I did mention he had a couple big games for Boston. You wonder if that were going to continue. But now they've lost Holiday, Cornette, and Porzingis. We're already knowing that they're going to be shorthanded coming into next year. So it's going to be the East, as we said with Don earlier this week, the East is going to be a little unusual this year, and it kind of feels like it's randomly up for grabs for really anybody.
It really is. Between, the movement and the injuries and that kind of thing, the East is tough to get a feel for right now. And I don't know that once free agency settles, it's going to be any easier to get a feel for.
No, I don't think so. And going back to Beal too, he will be an interesting case study because if someone brings him in, I can certainly see him, as I mentioned, bringing value, but he could really have some value on kind of a new contract for somebody around the trade deadline. No matter where he ends up to start the year, if he kind of turns it back around and kind of really gives you the goods on the court, he could be a pivotal piece that could get moved pretty quickly if somebody's in need of something.
Shifting gears from the NBA to the WNBA, whose season is ongoing right now. The Phoenix Mercury, 13-6, but they are expected to make a nice little pickup here with the signing of free agent forward DeWanna Bonner. 6-time WNBA All-Star was released at her request by the Indiana Fever last month. Apparently contemplated retirement, but is instead signing with, again, a pretty good Mercury team that is second in the league standings and trails only the Minnesota Lynx in the West. So well positioned already and threatening to do even more damage with the addition of, again, the second oldest player in the league. The only older player than Bonner at 37 in the WNBA is former MTSU standout Alicia Clark with the Seattle Storm. So certainly can't hurt.
No, couldn't hurt.
Phoenix.
And it's interesting this played out because we just talked on Wild and Wacky last week. We talked about the house divided in a sense, and Alyssa Thomas and Bonner, their house was divided after they were no longer teammates on the Sun. But now, life partners, now teammates once again. Everything kind of comes full circle, and you're right. They've been playing great ball. They demolished the Wings last night, and Thomas had a triple-double.
Think she was a little excited?
Maybe, yeah, could have had a little extra juice. What did I say? The first ever 15 and 10 game, or only the second ever, I should say, in WNBA history. It was an impressive performance, and those numbers would have been higher, but the game kind of got out of hand toward the end.
Yeah. Staying in the WNBA, I don't know how under the radar it went. We never really got a chance to dive into it, but Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever, apparently not a fan of Cleveland and Detroit, two of the three cities that were announced as WNBA expansion team winners recently. So again, made some disparaging comments about those decisions, had to come back and walk those back later. I know the history behind the WNBA. I know both those cities had teams before, and they got us where we're at, so I'm thankful for that. I'm from Missouri. I get I'm in Indiana, and that's kind of what I'm hinting at. Broadway sounds fun. Sophie in Miami sounds fun. All I was saying. So apparently she was a little bit more behind Miami getting one of those. But yeah, wasn't really behind the Cleveland and Detroit moves in particular, and has had to kind of go and massage some things apparently. So got to be careful, Sophie.
Yeah, walked it back a little bit. Somebody whispered in her ear, and she kind of made those comments to kind of smooth things over. I mean, I've never had a bad time in Cleveland or Detroit, but if you're going to give me Miami and Nashville for a couple nights out of the year for a work trip, yeah, I probably would prefer those places, especially Nashville, because you're going to get brand new facilities.
There's that, and I don't know, where Nashville fits. We talked with Megan L. Hall about this not long after those expansion destinations were announced for the 28, 29, and 30 WNBA seasons. I don't know where Nashville fits, but as you said, it's going to be a new facility, which means that there's not one in place right now. Maybe the WNBA needed to know a little bit more about Nashville's facility situation before they were willing to commit. I don't know, but it just feels like, and we got to be careful because, I know we're right here, but it feels like Nashville is a natural for the WNBA with the history of women's basketball in this area and that kind of thing. It just feels like it should be a matter of time. So I don't know.
You're right. And we said it when it came down. Their bid was seemingly really tight. They had a lot of money offered. They had the investment group. You had this kind of even the celeb investors kind of behind it. It seemingly seemed pretty airtight. So the fact that it didn't get chosen, not sure what the strategy is or how those decisions were made, but seemingly they were made for some other reason. I can't really put my finger on it, but it does feel somewhat inevitable. You are right about that.
Yeah. We mentioned yesterday that SEC football media days are next week down in Atlanta. Saturday down south, one of the better college websites, college athletic websites, football focused, but they do a lot over there. Right now, they are running through the quarterback Mount Rushmores for each of the SEC's football programs. And I kind of found myself going down the rabbit hole on some of this. They have unveiled 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, looks like 11 thus far. Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn. Oh, it's in alphabetical order somewhat. Today, it's Oklahoma, and it's intriguing because Baker Mayfield, Sam Bradford, Kyler Murray, each of those are Heisman Trophy winners, by the way, and Tennessee coach Josh Heupel is the Saturday Down South / Adam Spencer Mount Rushmore of Sooner quarterbacks. Honorable mentions were Landry Jones, Jason White, Jack Mildren, and Steve Davis, the latter two from the 70s era of Oklahoma football. I was a little shocked that neither Jamel Holloway or Charles Thompson got any kind of attention. But I mean, Mildren and Davis kind of dispel the recency bias that I was thinking might be at play here. But it's interesting. And I mean, anytime you do something like this, you come up with, well, what about this guy? That argument is always there. And having looked at some of these others, there's certainly some guys that you could think would be missing. I mean, Matthew Stafford is not on Georgia's Mount Rushmore, for instance. They've got Aaron Murray, Stetson Bennett, David Green, and Fran Tarkenton. So again, the guy is doing his work, it looks like, from a historic background, but I don't know how. And having put together all district and all area teams and that kind of thing, the question becomes, well, who do you take off? And looking at that list, who do you take off for Matthew Stafford, for instance? So, I mean, I get it, but it's a nice conversation piece in July.
Mission accomplished for Mr. Spencer, right?
Yeah. He got at least one click because I clicked on it. So yeah, that's
I will say, man, you took me down memory lane when Jason White there, because that was a guy. Man, it felt like, and obviously he did a lot of great stuff, but it felt like we just got a little shortchanged by what could have been in that run there. Man, it was some really good years, and Oklahoma, we mentioned Phil Steele earlier. I was flipping through that during our chip segment. He has Oklahoma as his most improved team this season. Didn't get in the weeds to see how much improved.
Brent Venables sure hopes so.
Yeah, kind of hoping so. But they will be interesting to watch this season as well.
Yeah, one way or the other, because if they are not, then I saw a list. Well, I saw an article somewhere talking about college football coaches on the hot seat, and I didn't click on it, but I would feel pretty confident that Brent Venables is on it. So we'll see how that goes. Outside of the SEC, apparently Notre Dame has a key injury in its offensive front. Charles Jagusa broke his arm in a UTV accident, a utility task vehicle accident. I had to look up UTV. I knew what an ATV was. I wasn't familiar with a UTV, but yeah, utility task vehicle. But the sophomore fractured his left forearm, underwent surgery. Wait a minute, let me get that right. Wade, humerus, forearm, or is that the upper arm?
Could not tell you. I've only broken a leg, not a arm.
Oh, come on now. It's the long bone in your upper arm. Right? Yeah. Connects to the scapula and to the radius and ulna at the elbow joint. Yeah.
You got me kind of looking all over now. I'm not totally sure.
No, it's this bone here. Goodness gracious, how do you break that?
If you're on a vehicle.
Yeah, clearly. But he is questionable for their season opener, obviously, after missing part of last year with a torn pec. So 6'7", 333, projected right guard starter for Notre Dame, which starts the season at Miami over Labor Day weekend. So that's a guy that you would miss.
Yeah, Notre Dame, they don't necessarily have to. We've talked about it a lot last year's season, of course. I mean, you can overcome a bad loss, to say the least, if you're Notre Dame. But when you put yourself in a precarious situation, we know they play a decently challenging schedule every year. So, yeah, you are hoping you can go out and reel off some wins to start. If you're going to catch a loss, trying to mitigate the damage as much as possible. And then, you don't want to just rack up injuries, obviously, before we even get really deep in camp.
Yeah, that's a tough one to swallow for Marcus Freeman and the Irish, I would think. So they'll be hoping to come back from that. BYU will be hoping to come back from, Jake Retzlaff, their former quarterback, had been involved in legal proceedings regarding a sexual assault accusation. That case has been dropped. However, he's still dealing with an honor code violation and will likely not be returning to BYU, which means he's probably going to be going somewhere else. So there's another quarterback on the market.
Yeah, just when we thought the carousel had kind of come to a complete stop, kind of a late newcomer to the mix, as it were.
Threw for almost 3,000 yards and 20 touchdowns last year. Also rushed for more than 400 yards and scored 6 touchdowns on the ground. BYU went 11-2 with Retzlaff, just missing a Big 12 championship game berth, and was a top 15 team in the final CFP rankings. So they're trying to figure out where they're going at quarterback in his absence, and he's trying to figure out where he's going in the aftermath. So,
yeah, they're BYU too. Similar to Notre Dame, they don't carry quite as much clout. They have to walk a little more narrow tightrope. And I'm looking at their schedule. They got Portland State and Stanford to start, at East Carolina, at Colorado. Who knows what that game would look like in late September. But then, when you get into full-blown Big 12, they can't afford to lose. They need that momentum like they had last year where they reel off 8 or 9 wins to start the year, get them deep in the conversation, and then maybe you could absorb a loss. It feels like.
And if what we saw last year holds up yet again, the Big 12 is going to be wide open. So, be interesting to keep an eye on that. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports. No. Let's get to one last item here in the grab bag. Grand Canyon was expected to join the Mountain West next year from the WAC. Instead, they're going a year early. They are going into the Mountain West this year. Probably an easier move for the conference to make since Grand Canyon doesn't play football. But again, they are leaving the Western Athletic Conference and are headed to the Mountain West and will be in there for the upcoming school year. So kind of makes the Mountain West a little stronger from a basketball standpoint with the success that they've had with former Vanderbilt coach Bryce Drew. And it helps with the loss of a San Diego State, among other teams, for the Mountain West.
Yeah, and Grand Canyon, we've talked about them too. That being that for-profit kind of piece, and not having football, they're such a unique. They're kind of a unicorn in that sense. I mean, I could see them just continuing on a crazy upward trend, and yeah, it feels like as we sit here, the Mountain West would be the team. Grand Canyon feels like we'll be just fine wherever we end up, but that feels like a good grab for the Mountain West.
Yeah, it does. And they, again, team that's got some exposure, got some momentum to them, that kind of thing. And yeah, it does feel like a good get as the Mountain West tries to kind of stabilize themselves.
Their women's program was viral this year too. They also had a decent season as well.
Yeah.
32-3, but that was not necessarily the reason for their viralness.
On that note, we will take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it's the final segment of today's show. It is Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will give you our top 5 sports figures falls from grace. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all. Most of the time, we don't even think about it, but it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. It's the final segment of today's show, which means it's time for Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I bring you our top 5 on some topic that we come up with. A couple of nights ago, I was scrolling through TV channels and came across the ESPN 30 for 30 Youngstown Boys, which was the rise and fall of former Ohio State running back Maurice Clarett. And that kind of sparked today's top 5 sports figures falls from grace, because you can't fall much further than jail, I don't guess. And that's where Clarett wound up. But he was one of the first people I followed on Twitter, because I saw a tweet that he had put out: "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." And it just resonated with me, and nobody could speak to that quite like him, I don't think. So he's always been a fascinating individual to me, and how he's bounced back from that. So, but anyway, that's how we arrived at today's top 5 for Top 5 Tuesday. Sports figures falls from grace. And that edit was courtesy of one Wade Neely, because this was initially athletes falls from grace, but it's not just athletes that fall, right, Wade?
Not necessarily. And some of these, to your point about Mo Clarett there, I mean, they do have kind of at this point in time, a feel-good kind of turnaround, which is really kind of what life is about in general. You know, just when you think you're down and out, you can always, if you can see the light, you can kind of always get to it. And shout out to Clarett, too. I mean, I hate to give the devil his due, but my man runs down Sean Taylor on the interception in that national championship game. He was electric, and good to hear that he's kind of righted the ship there, so to speak. I'm gonna start number 1 though. I mean, this is about as classic as it could get. But if you were, living on planet Earth in the early 2000s, you had a Live Strong bracelet on your wrist. And you had that because you supported one of the feel-good stories of cancer survivor and one of the best cyclists ever to do it, 7 straight Tour de France's, for Lance Armstrong. However, you had to kind of maybe put that to the side, blindly or otherwise. Doping allegations and, kind of the ringleader, talk about great documentaries, kind of the ringleader of one of the biggest doping programs or doping scandals kind of sports has ever seen. He was stripped of all of those. So Lance Armstrong's my number 1. I don't know if I have my Live Strong bracelet. Did you rock one back in the day? Yeah, I had one.
I did not. I guess I was in the minority in that status, but no, I did not. And, it wasn't necessarily any foreshadowing or anything on my part. I just never did. You thought what he did in cycling was transformative, but man, that's a tough fall. Once you found out about everything else that was going on with him, for sure. My number 1 is probably obvious, but doesn't stop it from being my number 1. You cannot play quarterback in the National Football League and run a dogfighting ring.
You can do one or the other.
You can do one or the other. You cannot do both. And you definitely can't do them across state lines, as Michael Vick unfortunately found out. And to your point about Mo Claret, you know, he's now the head coach at Norfolk State. So, I mean, what he did after that, I don't want to say incident, after that episode in his life is really kind of gratifying to watch. But man, he lost a lot, he gave up a lot, and it was all its own fault. So Michael Vick's my number one.
Good pull. He had it going on. There
Big
ain't
time.
no doubt. Up next for me, stay in football, stay in kind of somewhat obvious, but O.J. Simpson. There's like 35, maybe 40 documentaries, books, movies, etc., that have been written, and this whole case study explained ad nauseum. And I didn't necessarily grow up right in the thick of things. My real introduction to OJ was watching the Naked Gun movies growing up. And when you learn more, just that sums this entire list up. You're at the height of your powers, and then, like you said earlier, you're in jail. Not just once, but twice, and one time stuck.
Yep. My number two, he wasn't in jail, but he's never been the same. Elbert Woods, they call him Tiger. It all fell apart for him with some off the course issues, we'll say, and then injuries behind that. So it's been unfortunate that we got a little bit robbed by what Tiger went through. But again, a lot of stuff he brought on himself as well. So Tiger is my number two. Number three.
Number three for me, there's off the field of competition issues, but really just in terms of in-ring issues. I just got done with Jim Lampley's book, and he had such a close relationship with the baddest man on the planet. And for those years in the late 80s, early 90s, it didn't look like a single soul on the planet would ever even land a shot on Mike Tyson. And then Buster Douglas comes in, and then poof, in the next 4 to 5 years, we get into the real kind of fall. This looks like a guy that was going to rewrite every single boxing record there was. And it kind of got thrown away just from in the ring stuff, obviously, in addition to some other legal and controversies. But like most of these guys, has totally found himself in a new light here.
Yeah. I would imagine most folks could tell you where they were when they heard that Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. I know I could. My number three, and you opened this up when we went past athletes, but Mike Price, you could refer to him as former Alabama coach, but it'd kind of be with an asterisk because he never actually coached a game due to a visit to the Gulf Coast and some establishments thereon. Mike Price is my number three. It's pretty entertaining.
Man, that's a wild sliding doors situation there at Alabama. There ain't no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, there are a lot of Alabama fans that probably couldn't tell you who Mike Price is. They don't realize that football existed before Nick Saban. But anyway.
Up
Number
next
4.
for me, as we close up here, Tanya Harding. I really don't got to say a whole lot more, but Tanya Harding was the star in the making and really kind of had it all, and then she didn't.
All right. My number 4, kind of like you cannot conduct a dogfighting ring and play quarterback in the NFL, you can't bring a gun into an NBA facility either. Ask Gilbert Arenas. Not a good idea.
He thought they were still the Washington Bullets. Him and then Javaris Crittenton on the other side, which that far more tragic. But Gilbert, reinventing himself. Used to love reading his blog back in the days. Fun player, Agent Zero. You can't do both.
No. Number 5, Wade.
Last for me, 30-time world champion, but not a great situation with Chris Benoit passing away. Ugly situation. Talk about a fall from grace.
Real quick, number 5, Pete Rose. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Join us tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We'll be visiting with Heather Williams, talking a little NASCAR. We'll see y'all then.